Hey everyone, welcome back to the Archangel 15. Wanted to do a special video called Thanks Elon. I wanted to especially thank Elon Musk for having the courage to basically confirm things that I've been talking about and emphatically pounding the table about for years. Not only President Trump's connection to Jeffrey Epstein, but also bigger human sex trafficking rings, human cloning programs, and pedophilia rings. Like I said, there was actually a cloning ranch that Jeffrey Epstein had, if you don't know about this, in New Mexico, where he was procuring genetics from like Nobel laureate scholars and all kinds of people. And it probably had, like I said, all kinds of stolen genetics there from all over the world. And he was, like I said, probably working in near Area 51 and probably in cahoots with the United States government on this, the whole thing. But I want to thank Elon, like I said, for his diligent work. And with Doge, like I said, he was put on the front lines to be a boogeyman, and he really brought some real fiscal conservative values to Washington D.C., which was nice to see for a change. Say what you want to say about Doge, but there's a serious debt crisis in this country that needs to be addressed, or we're not going to have a country anymore. Like I said, Elon is the world's richest man, to my knowledge, and like I said, Trump put him on the front lines to be this boogeyman. He comes out with a chainsaw, whacks out all this excess spending, entitlements, superfluous programs, and then Trump comes in the back door after all this with this big, beautiful spending bill, and nixes like basically all this work, trying to like, basically save the country a lot of money. And I mentioned before my disliking for Trump's use of American gunboat diplomacy, and that's really one of my major points I dislike about the guy. Like I said, this failed vision of American gunboat diplomacy doesn't work around the world. All it does is put our country trillions of dollars in debt and makes us lose respect for all these other countries. But there's something in this world called honor. And like I said, something that Trump obviously knows nothing about. He was on the phone with President Putin for an hour and a half one week. Like I said, talking about trying to end the war, this and that, acting like they're buddies in the billionaire boys club. And then, like I said, a couple of days later, he comes out and heralds Zelensky for his attacks on Russia. So you tell me. Like I said, like you can't have it both ways. Like I said, I have my differences with the Russian Federation. I really believe that the conflict could have been ended a long time ago. But I don't like I said, somebody trying to like play both sides. Like I really see Trump as only making the situation worse. He desperately wants to take part in stopping the conflict to give him a much needed accolade that he's going to need for his phony approval ratings or for him to attempt to run a third term. There's basically a stagnant pulse in this country of old warmonger people who rely on, like I said, rely on military spending to basically be a means to facilitate economic stimulus. And like I said, this Golden Dome, from what I've gathered, it's not going to work. Like I said, the defense capabilities of the interceptor missiles will not be adequate to stop the hypersonic capabilities of Russia, China, North Korea, probably others as well. The border, like I said, is way too big to defend, and like I said, it's not something that's practical, from what I've gathered and what I've heard. It will cost a ton of money that we do not have, and it's going to incite and accelerate geopolitical tensions around the world. Like I said, you have to ask, like, why are we building this? Is like I said, is it Russia? Like I said, Russia has their own problems to worry about. They're not going to worry about attacking us. I can promise you that. The Chinese, like I said, we're supposedly in trade talks and having, like I said, negotiations and civilized sit downs with the Chinese. Why would we want to do something to upset them? And like I said, like it's an absolute joke. I can guarantee you the North Koreans are not going to attack us, like I said, on that front either. Like I said, he's doing this to pacify and facilitate his own, like I said, personal ego and this whole, like I said, this failed notion of American gunboat diplomacy. And we have a lot of cancer and antiquated philosophy in this world that needs to go by the wayside before our country can really change fundamentally. And like I said, will this ever take place? I ask you this question. I end with a quote of mine. Imagination will never exist in a world where stagnation will always persist. Stay well, folks.